And again, for some of you, this is all social, but for some of you, this can also be the way you show up on social media as well. It's reshaping the way you communicate with your social life, right? And so I'm going to move forward. Hello, Capricorn. My name is Kristen Simone Hansen, and welcome to SeaGoatSecrets. Hi Capricorn, I'm Kristen and I'm a healer. In this video, you are going to get a full rundown of Capricorn's energy for the new moon in Scorpio and how it affects you and your placements. I begin with the astrology and I end with a card reading. If at any point in this video you feel connected to me and would like to become a client of mine, you can do so by joining this link here and also in the bio. I welcome you. And if you'd like to know what my clients are saying about me and my client circle, you can also see this link to my Trustpilot here as well. And as you all know, I am a global citizen. And so if you have not already, please let me know where you're listening from in the comments, and we can all connect and be a strong collective. Now, with all that being said, let's get into this. Hi Capricorn, so here we are for this Scorpio new moon video. And I will just give a bit of a PSA right now when it comes to our birth chart assessments. For those of you who have gotten the birth chart assessment with me, they've changed a lot. There was a period of time in the beginning, obviously they were, I think, just printed. Then they became both video and printed. Then at a certain point they were just video, and now they're both. The structure has now been completely solidified and will not be changed again. And they're also now with the printed portion of your birth chart, because you get the video, which is a session with me, and then you also get your printed birth chart assessment is now dedicated to human design. There's a big portion of it that's dedicated to your human design archetype. So yeah, as well as your rise and your fall in terms of your life when it comes to your highlights as well as your shadows. So if you're someone who has gotten a birth chart assessment with me in the past and wants to understand what the structure now looks like, or if you worked with me when the printed portion was not in, let's say, motion, you can just email me and we can see what it is that we can do in terms of getting whatever portion you want to add to what it is that you had before, whether it is a video form, printed form, or just starting over from scratch. Okay, so that's what I have for you guys. Let's get into this. So yeah, so SeaGoat, when it comes to this new moon video or energy, this is a social revival for you, right? So we've been seeing you go through the waters, navigating the waters with Saturn being in Pisces, Cancer being in Jupiter, the North Node is also in Pisces, and Neptune is back into Pisces. So SeaGoat, the watery energies, they tend to attract themselves to you, SeaGoat. They like you a lot, Capricorn. They tend to be your friend in that way. And they're always asking you to transform. The water energies are always asking you to go deeper with yourself, understand more of yourself. And this is all about you knowing who you are through the lens of other people, right? Expanding out, moving your limbs, stretching your arms in that way, and getting closer and more connected to your social resources and also your social medias. A lot of you are going to go through this moon and go through a social media change. For those of you that are not used to being on social media, you might find that I wouldn't say a lot of you are going to be leaving. It's more like you're, again, renewing, reviving. So if you've never been on social media before, you can see yourself really taking it seriously, wanting people to see you a certain way online. If you own social media-based businesses, this is you really understanding how to market better. Capricorn, there was an eerie time. There was a confusing time for you, let's say during the Saturn in Pisces. You needed to communicate over the past 3 years. You needed to get people to understand you, but there was so much elusiveness, so much confusion. You were trying to figure yourself out post Pluto with all this stuff that you were going through while still trying to relate yourself to the world. Now, when Aries stepped into Saturn around the summertime, a lot of that changed, right? You kind of, that was a very intense energy for you, SeaGoat. You kind of had to put muscle in yourself for quite like as if you got this like spurt of fire in a way. Now we're back in Saturn being in Pisces, and you're doing it differently. All of the lessons that you learned during that time period, you're able to apply now. There's something about you that feels like a better communicator. Now, this isn't just in the way you speak, SeaGoat. This is in the way you're communicating yourself. This is the way people are looking at you, seeing you, understanding you, getting closer to you, getting more aware of you. Right? You're not so confusing anymore now, are you? You're not so mysterious. You are someone who is stationary. Right? Now, Capricorn will always omit mystery. It's the way of the SeaGoat, but in a way that is not dangerously mysterious or dangerously manipulative as well. There is a need for you to be very authentic, and you can feel it in your belly. And you want to be yourself. You want to feel more like yourself in whatever that looks like. And this has been something ringing in your ear all year. Because again, what's been happening over the past 3-year window for you, SeaGoat, the breakdown that took place 3 years ago, it was all about you getting deeper and more true and more honest in you, right? Really getting within yourself. And this Taurus full moon that we found us during November, and this new moon now here in Scorpio, these two things are trying to pull authenticity out of you, because it would give you a more pleasurable and balanced life, right? It wants you to build your truth and eliminate all that does not serve. Scorpio is trying to rework your social life, showing you that healing is indeed possible, and you can, in fact, have a life that is more in tune with who you really are. Not the status that you are building, not something on the external, but something that feels very natural. And it's the steps of naturalization, maybe, that you are experiencing in that way, that what is organic, what feels second nature, what just feels good, right? And that's kind of the thing that has been moving through you and is trying to find you, trying to come full circle, let's just say. So that's the thing, SeaGoat. And as we look at this energy and we're feeling it, let's just say, a lot of you are going to understand your social power during this time. There's a need for you to understand your social dominance as well, the way in which you can charm something instead of beat it to death. And this is Cancer being in Jupiter as well. Cancer is your opposite, always trying to show you how to do it differently, SeaGoat. Cancer knows how to, and we saw this in the first half of the year, when Cancer was in Mars and it was in detriment, and it was very difficult for you, SeaGoat, but you had to learn how to talk to people. You know, there's so much going on in the first half of the year that was forcing you to know how to not go at it alone. Before Jupiter went through its transit, your self-care was saying, with Gemini being in Jupiter, you would have a better relationship with yourself if you were actually letting people in. Sorry to do that, but, like hammering onto you in that way. There was something about you needing to understand that self-care didn't always look like hard work, and it doesn't always look good on paper, and it doesn't always look like, the mountain goat with the muscle looking just so great and statuesque. It was asking you to go deeper. And now as you're sitting here in all this water energy, SeaGoat, it's asking you to expand. Now, deepness is not the thing that you need anymore. It's expansion. It's opening up to people. It's connecting with people. It's seeing how much you can do, gain, feel, be healed through the lens of other people. Again, big social media change, big social media revival, social media truce. There's not so much mystery. It's pointed, it's straightforward. Your message is clear. Your message is clear. You want it to be clear. This is who you are. This is who you love. This is what it is that you will do. This is what you stand for. This is what you believe in. And as you face old faces, especially because we saw that in the November personal reading, I'll link that here. But as you face old faces, you do so in a way that, let's say, is stronger, because you're no longer in the kind of energy where you're questioning the way in which you go about things or the way that you approach things, right? It's the kind of energy that says, I know how to talk to you now. I know how to deal with this better. I know how to go about this in a way that maybe I didn't before. For a lot of you SeaGoats that deal with power, ego, right? You may have tried to force things that now you realize maybe it's deeper than that. Maybe I should go about it in a different way. You're learning power more from the realm of the sea goat. You're learning power more from the space that is deeper within, a space that also offers you a lot more pleasure that you didn't necessarily see. You had to go through the pain in order to understand that it is indeed a much more pleasurable and therefore wealthy life to be able to connect, to be able to be maybe vulnerable, to be able to be clear, right? As if the power move doesn't always have to mean or be mysterious privacy, let's just say. I know that one's strange, but I think it resonates in that way. But anyway, Seagull. Anyway, let's see. Now, at this time, Capricorn, it's important to understand that Uranus sextiles Neptune on the very same day that the new moon goes into Scorpio. So what we will be dealing with when it comes to this, especially because we're talking about the splash of Uranus and Uranus and Pluto, Scorpio and Aquarius are, let's say, I like to call them bonded, right? Similar to how Taurus is like Leo. Scorpio is like Aquarius. Capricorn is like Aries. And the thing about these two is they share the tower. You know, similar to how Capricorn and Aries share the Emperor. And so when Uranus is sextile in Neptune on the day that the new moon goes into Scorpio, this is a very lucky energy, right? So this is a nice lucky energy when it comes to something that you have been feeling, dreaming of. You're able to bring your ideas to life. You're able to bring your dreams out. You're able to explain and express what has really been sitting inside of you. So again, your social life, your community understands you better. Your social media understands you better. All these ideas, these dreams, these perspectives, these subconscious things, these things that have been sitting inside of you that you have been struggling to explain, or the different aspects of who it is that you are, that you have been struggling to try to make clear, become clear in a very special and surprising way. And this is the kind of thing that there's like a click that goes off and your ideas merge and they begin to make sense, which is nice, Seagull. This is it's very good energy. It's a very progressive energy. Let's just say that. The things start to click. Everything, the pieces start to come together, and there's a nice flow that happens with this new moon. It's a very, very good energy. You're feeling like you are socially powerful. You're feeling socially in control. Let's just say, like water, basically like water. So anyway, so that's what I have for you, Capricorn, and we're going to get into the reading now. Okay, so here we are, Seagull, for your monthly reading. Monthly. Hi, Seagull. So here we are for your Scorpio new moon and Scorpio reading. So the biggest thing we see here, Capricorn, is there's a lot going on emotionally. We've got the Temperance here in terms of your subject, and we also have the Temperance showing up in your shadow. Both are major arcanas. We also see sacred scar going on here, and defend to the end the worthwhile. So that's a lot, that's excuse me, sorry for the sound, but yeah, that's a lot. But then again, we're talking about Scorpio, so when is it not a lot, when are we expecting something light? So in this case, Capricorn, we see that there is balance taking place here, there is peace taking place here, there is healing taking place here. But obviously, when we're talking about the temperance, we also talking about something that requires time, that requires patience. You are aligning with a more healed experience, but it's also something that you become aware of is going to take time to develop. Keep in mind, this is a 2-week window. Now, this next 2-week window can feel very slow moving. Like most of November, how November has felt, slow in that way. Transit after transit, it felt like you were carving a new essence of yourself, something inside. And in this case, SeaGoat, this new moon in Scorpio aligns you with this awareness that things can indeed be harmonious, but it's also going to develop over a period of time. Now, we see this sitting next to this Two of Pentacles energy. So the Temperance is above the Two of Pentacles, which there's a juggling act. There are things that you need to finalize, finish, get to the end of. And then it's making new memories tied to this. So as you align yourself with trying to balance your life and trying to make sense of your situations and your dynamics, you know that it's going to lead to a more peaceful resolution, a more balanced and easy time for you, but it's also something that requires a lot of effort from you. So in simple terms, it's almost like, you're dealing with, let's say, because we're Scorpio new moon, this is awakening your 11th house, right? So it can be, for example, a practical matter that can be worked through, and it's going to have a harmonious outcome, and it's going to lead to a good place, but it requires a lot of juggling. It requires a lot of, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to sign this, I need to go here, I need to talk to this person, right? But it's a matter of this being done in a way that comes from more balance, more peace, more essence within yourself, more at ease. It's getting something finished, creating a new story, creating a new paradigm, but it requires effort. That's just what it is. Now in your shadow, we have the Five of Cowrie in reverse, along with Equilibriar, which is the Temperance energy in reverse. So we see that you're fearful of, how do I say, especially when we're talking about the Five of Cowrie in reverse, it's almost like you're fearful of not being able to put something behind you, not being able to separate yourself, not being able to exit stage left. And that peace will not be acquired, right? So as you're in the process of doing this, you also fear that it's not going to be able to come into fruition. So the very same thing that you want and the very same thing that's playing out right in front of you, you're fearful that it's not actually going to happen. I mean, that's quite normal. SeaGoat, we can be in the middle of, we can find the love of our lives and walk down the aisle, and while we're doing so, we're full of fear that it's not going to work out. What if right now they jilt you? I think that's the word, jilted, I think. What if right now, your partner just decides to run away from the altar? Even if we're looking at them with tears running down their eyes, excited to share our last names together, right? It's still something that we fear. The lovers in the subject and the lovers in the shadow. So it seems like that's what's happening in this case, SeaGoat. You're fearful of not being able to have the very thing that's playing out in front of you. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it's a juggling act, that this is requiring effort, and you also know it's going to develop more over time. And so that's a part of what's creating this kind of fear that you can't put it behind you or put it beside you, exit stage left. For a lot of you, especially when we're talking about social dynamics, with this being your 11th house, you want to be able to close the door on certain people as well. You want to be able to, that Five of Pentacles, Five of Cowrie in reverse is making it very clear that you don't want to deal with anything that is going to compromise your peace or anyone that is going to compromise it. And the fear that you have is connecting with and aligning with the wrong people is going to put you in a position where you have to compromise yourself, right? Where you are, where you can't just close the door on someone, where you can't just separate yourself from a group of people, whomever is causing this situation that you have to deal with, right? This juggling act, almost like you have to deal with people that you don't want to. And this awareness comes to you that says, okay, I can have a more harmonious truth or more harmonious experience, but can I do it with you, right? Can I do it, in this situation? I don't want to even deal with this. I don't want to deal with these people. I don't want to deal with this situation. I just want to be able to abandon it. I want to be able to abandon them. I want to be able to close the door on them. And this fear is coming in when it comes to not being able to do so. Now, when we look at your advice, we see defend to the end the worthwhile along with bring it into form. So, and defend to the end the worthwhile is sitting next to the sacred scar. So I can't say this isn't an intense energy, SeaGoat, because it is. So even though we see this peace, balance, patience, and harmony, it requires a level of effort that puts you in a position where you're having to identify and address the things that hurt you, the things that wound you, standing in your guard, standing for yourself with an intense level of determination of owning your own narrative, owning your own truth, defending the peace that you so desperately desire and will do anything to acquire, basically. And it's you doing the things that you need to do in order to bring this into form, in order to bring it into reality. There is something about, again, the 11th house, there's something about this need for who's coming with you and who's going, right? Who's staying and who's going. We don't see anything here about boundaries, but this feels like boundaries, okay? It feels, and you guys know I'm an intuitive reader, right? So it's just, it feels like boundaries. It feels like barriers. You're bringing in the reality that you are so gung-ho about, and you're not letting up on it. You're being relentless about it. And this puts you in a position where you're having to identify pain, where you're having to identify old pains, because the sacred scar is about old wounds being converted into wisdom, and facing them and doing, taking action steps toward them. So in general, I think you guys are dealing with a pretty big situation that seems like it can compromise your peace, but ultimately you're able to deal with it, or you're handling it quite well. You fear that you won't be able to, but in fact it's happening, and it requires you to step up. It requires you to stand up, to admit that you are hurt, admit that you've been hurt, address the thing, especially for a lot of you're dealing with old situations as well. It can be old people in your life, things that once hurt you, old stories. And so it's you holding on to that wound in your chest, and relentlessly, again, with the tears running down your face, I will not do this. This is not going to happen. I will fight for what it is that I need, the reality that I'm looking for, the truth of the paradigm that I want to see come into fruition. Now we have your inner and outer scars are marks of your soul's courage. They are signs of strength and survival, of your willingness to be alive. The sacred scar speaks of that which once caused pain being transformed into higher knowledge and inner power. Trauma will be transformed into spiritual initiation, leading you from woundedness to wisdom. You have nothing to be ashamed of. You can trust your healing process and in the hidden power and the hidden higher purpose behind things happening as they do. You are strong and shall flourish on all levels. Your inner and outer scars are marks of your soul's courage. They are signs of strength and survival, of your willingness to be alive. That's standing to next to defend to the end the worthwhile, SeaGoat. You are fighting for this harmony. You're not going to do this again. You're not going through this again. And you're standing in that power, let's just say. You're standing in that power through that pain. Standing in your power through your pain. Now we have an air energy next to that. So we have fire, right? The birth through fire. The sacred scar for me is usually what I identify as the Nine of Wands. The courage of Aries energy, right? The person who takes their pains and their traumas whipped by their backs and they stand up straight and, ram into the next obstacle, right? You take the pain and you convert it into strength and power. Now, next to that, we have how it reshapes your mind. And I love this energy, SeaGoat, because it reshapes your mind into practice connecting to the joy that is always deep within you. Pay attention to what brings you exquisite delight. If you don't know what that is, you are guided to experiment and explore. Connecting to the joyful capacity of your heart will heal so much negativity and uncertainty. Let your heart relax. Allow spiritual grace that wishes to reorder your life into miraculous magic. So again, SeaGoat, it goes into this space where you're fighting these wounds. Your trauma is tenfold. It's right in front of you, and you're giving that fighting, giving that power. You're tearing your heart open, but you're doing so to create a new paradigm that aligns with more happiness, that aligns with more joy. Again, reordering your life. That's what we see here. You're restructuring your social paradigm. You're restructuring your life's paradigm. And you're restructuring it to a reality that is more in alignment with, again, the joyful capacity within your own heart, the happiness that you have within your own narrative. And that's where it is that your head is, right? And you're bringing this into form. You're bringing this into reality. And it's a juggling act. It's a process, but you're doing it anyway. Right. And the negativity and the uncertainty is that you can't do it, that you cannot do it, that you cannot. Again, for most of you, I will say that this has to do with 11th house matters. This has to do with people paradigms. And it's that fear that you can't just close the door, that you can't just abandon an unhappy situation, and that you will be stuck in this inability to have equilibrium. But that is the thing that is keeping you trapped, and it's unnecessary, because in actuality, when you address the sacred scar and the wounds and you align with wisdom and you fight for what it is that you need to fight for, and you do what's necessary to align with your personal peace, then you can create the new happy memories that you want so badly. If we look at what's happening on the bottom here, the juxtaposition, right? What's happening on the top versus what's happening on the bottom, we see again, joyful capacity is what it is that you're bringing into form, a new reality, a new life order, a new way of a new life order, a new way of ordering your life, restructuring your life. And it's the act that you're doing to create those new memories, right? It's there. It's happening right underneath the pain restructuring, let's just say. Now, at the bottom of the healing points deck, we have Theta of Venus. Okay, so this is the overarching energy. Theta of Venus is all about understanding, it's a water energy. So we've got fire, air, water, right? So this is all inside of you. This is not practical. This is not this, for those of you that are relating to this in a financial matter, that's okay. But in this case, I will just let you know that anything that you're dealing with in the practical is reflective of what's going on with your social paradigm internally. Okay, so this is all within you. This is all emotional, right? Mind, body, spirit, or mind, emotion, spirit, basically. So Theta of Venus is a water energy, and it's the overarching energy of these two. And Theta of Venus is understanding how to see things like judgment, fear, all of those negative emotions, and allow the water to move through you. Align with a higher perspective, align with higher frequency perspectives, even in the face of these very shadowy, difficult emotions. If you notice, when you look at Theta of Venus, you see an energy here that is just going with the flow, allowing the tide to move them, right? Allowing the tide to move them. And that's the thing about this. You need to allow the tide to move you. When you are faced with those difficult emotions, that fear, that judgment, that shame, it's allowing yourself to just move through. Basically, that's the healing point. That's what you need to understand. Your pain can be transformed. Your wounds can align with your wisdom, right? This is pain is not, it doesn't have to mean that you are stuck in the situation that you fear the most, that you cannot have this harmony that you desire so much. And again, a lot of this is rooted around, it's not to say you haven't dealt with this pain, SeaGoat, because we see that it's there happening in front of you, but it's a matter of you reshaping your emotional capacity to deal and defending to the end the worthwhile, doing what it is that you need to do to reorder your life and restructure a better outcome, which also requires you to put yourself in a position where you can indeed do that, which you can address these very scary emotions in the face of this paradigm and find ease and grace despite it, find peace, right? Find the temperance, find the harmonious balance despite it, knowing when to give your emotions and when to take them, knowing how not to allow yourself to be pulled in too many difficult directions. That's how you heal. Now, next to this, we have conscious connections as your advice. So again, this goes back into a space where it's a social paradigm dynamic that you're dealing with, people, basically, right? People politics. And so, yeah, so conscious connections, that's the overarching energy. Defend to the end the worthwhile, to bring into form the reality that you desire the most, the paradigm that you desire the most. Now, at the bottom of the shadow deck, we see Onisha Kane. Okay, so with Onisha Kane at the bottom of the deck in reverse, yeah, we just see again this energy of not being able to, let's say, get out of something, not being able to align with what it is that you want. We also see like a stuckness. There's something about like a stuckness as well. Onisha Kane can also be, a fiery energy that seems like they're out to get you. But in this case, because it's happening in reverse, it more feels like you not being able to jump out, jump through, get out of. Now, at the bottom of the subject deck, we see the Two of Swords here, right? So again, this is all inside. This is all happening inside. So what it is that you feel, not what it is that you see, what it is that is going on in your internal narrative, your internal paradigm, the reshaping of your intuition, the reshaping of the way in which you deal with, and again, Two of Swords, Two of Pentacles, the reshaping of the way in which you deal with situations that you feel you may not have control over. Right. And there's something about your social paradigm during this new moon in Scorpio that forces you to have to identify where you have control versus where you do not. And you having to realize that there is a lot of harmony that is found in the Two of Swords energy, just like in the Temperance energy. All of this is about 2-2. The Temperance energy is about what do we see? We see one cup pouring into the other. Two of Pentacles energy, Two of Swords, 2-2. Everything is about balance. Right? There's a need to understand and identify balance. And there's something about the way in which you have dealt with your social paradigm where you have been wounded, you have been scarred, you have been hurt, and you need to defend this by being able to, again, find balance. Are a lot of your wounds induced by the fact that you are not allowing yourself to, again, have what it is that actually makes you feel the happiest? Right? Especially when we're talking about reordering of your life, connecting to joy and being able to do so, bringing it into form. How much did you compromise yourself previously that put you constantly in the dynamic of let's say, the fire, right? Having to face the frustrations or the difficulties or, again, the wounds, because you were living in a paradigm or accepting things socially, etc., that actually entirely worked against you. Right? Versus being able to align with something that works more for you. Where is your balance? When you put the blindfold on, and I say this all the time about SeaGoats, when you guys are in your shadow energy, a part of the reason why you deal with so much socially is because of where is Saturn right now. Saturn is in Pisces, right? Saturn is now direct in Pisces. And, the the retrogrades of Jupiter and Cancer, etc. The thing about you guys is because Piscean energy is in your 3rd house and Cancerian energy is in your 7th house, what tends to happen to you socially is you can run into a lot of illusions, right? You can be quite mysterious to people. And then that mystery and inability to kind of identify people from an intuitive level, really read the room, you know, when you're in your shadow energy and you're chasing status or you're chasing what's on the external, you know, you're not being decisive. And this is where, again, Scorpion energy comes in, because Scorpion energy identifies everything from what is unseen. And so with you, and we see this new moon happening in your 11th house, trying to rework your mindset, trying to restructure you. In your shadow, you can see let's say, let's just go completely with this. You can see a snake dressed in proper attire and then identify only the proper attire. And then you get bitten, right? Because you tend to be a person that has a lot, you know? So if you're giving a lot and you have a lot, or you're looking for validation because you sit in the 10th house, and the 10th house in its shadow energy is the definition of looking for validation, right? Because it needs to be seen, it needs to be the authority, it needs to be respected. So because you can get lost in what it is that you think that you see, you often can run into dynamics that cause these wounds in the first place, right? And then this compromising energy where you're not willing to defend what it is that you really want or create the paradigm that you really want, which we see here you are doing, right? You're doing this. You're creating the harmony that you want. You're setting those boundaries. You're being clear on what it is that you will not tolerate. And this is happening with, again, this 2 of Swords energy. If I'm going to navigate people, I'm going to navigate them from what I feel, not what it is that I see, not what they are saying to me, not what it is that they're trying to show me, not in the 10th house, right? Where everything looks so pretty on paper because it's a career energy, right? But from a space that is deeper, a space that is unseen. And that's where true harmony can be born. Because when you understand people from what you feel, from their energy, right? Then they don't surprise you. They don't surprise you, and you can tolerate them because ultimately they are in your circle for a reason. Let's just say, focus on what it is that you feel. So that's a part of the energy that's there. And then we also see conscious connections. So at the bottom of the clarity deck, we had perception with, again, relationship healing. So again, perception, relationship healing. And this is you healing your inner child as well, especially when we're looking at the sacred scar. 4th house in Aries is what it is that we're going through in Chiron. So a lot of you, this could be family dynamics for a lot of you, healing your relationship to the wounds tied to family dynamics, or again, the way in which your social paradigm has been affected since you were quite young, and the way you shaped yourself and formed yourself. There's a lot of healing happening when it comes to your perception of people and situations. That is good for you to, again, create this harmony that you are so looking for, these conscious connections, so that you can finally put the blindfold on and not live in hypervigilance. Because a lot of the time, again, for you, Capricorn in your shadow, you want to see so much, you live so much above the surface, which is not safe and or healthy, right? When you trust in what it is that you feel, then ultimately you can align with a much better social paradigm. And that brings about healing because your perception is changing. Your perception is moving into a space where you can put the blindfold on and still be safe. Okay, so from there, SeaGoat, we're going to get into some clarity. Okay, so we have thinking, feeling. We have 2 cards that came out here. Okay? Doing, being. All right. All right, Seagull. So here we are when it comes to this energy. What is it that you need to be? At the bottom of the deck, I see the strength here. Okay, so at the bottom of the deck, we have the strength. So, and I also saw a bit of a Five of Wands before I cut the deck. So this is, again, something about people, right? And you being able to identify a certain level of strength within yourself. Now, we have a lot of major arcanas here. So this Scorpio new moon is doing the Scorpio thing. Let's just say it's pulling you through a lot. It's pulling you through the depths of your own soul. Seagoat is pulling you through the depths of your own soul. It's reshaping you. It's aligning you. It's healing you. It's strengthening you, right? So in your mind, you need to be focused on the Page of Pentacles. So what in this case for you, Capricorn, I love when you get the Page of Pentacles because it makes it so that you're reworking your paradigm. Right? So when you have to step into the space of the page, you're coming down from the king energy, coming down from the queen's energy, separating yourself from the knight that thinks you know where you're going, and you're allowing yourself to sit in a space where all things are possible, right? It's almost like stepping into not necessarily a naive space, but the youthful space of not being the old dog that can't learn new tricks, right? It's saying, I don't know. But I'm ready to create something new. I don't want what was there before. I don't want what I had. I want something new. But I want it with structure, right? I'm trying to create things of structure, things that are real, things that are grounded, things that are practical. But I do not want to recreate an old story. I do not want to recreate an old truth. Right? So your mind needs to be in this page energy, also where you're unassuming, ready to kind of go in whichever direction. And this is not just about what you will accept from other people, because again, this is also you being open to other people and a new story with others, a new way of, because peace was not something you had before, Seagoat. Harmony was not something you had before. This is new. And it requires you to break down what it is that you thought of yourself before. So this is you putting yourself into that space, which is good, but also in terms of your expectations. The page is someone that has no expectations. They're an open book, ready for whatever practical, reality-based thing, whatever new structure can be formed. So that's where your mind needs to be, unassuming. So from there, your emotions need to be in the space of the Two of Wands tied to the big, beautiful Death here. So we have Scorpio right here on the table, and this is where we go into a space of a major arcana. So your emotions need to be in a space where you're ready to move forward by any means necessary, right? There's almost an intense will, drive, fire, fight to move forward by any means necessary, but you're moving forward with transformation. So again, the mind along with the emotions, right, along with the body, both are in a space where I am ready to transform. And in order to transform, I have to be willing to let go. And that's where the page comes in, because the page is not holding on to anything, right? The tower is not necessary with a page, because pages, they didn't build enough. Right? They don't have enough in their hands to have to, they don't build towers. Pages don't build towers. They're there with what it is that they have in their hands, and they're willing to be flexible with any dynamic or any situation. So your emotions need to be in a space where you understand that you're ready to move forward by any means necessary, and will do what is necessary, including changing and reshaping the versions of yourself, your ideas about what was possible, your ideas of other people, and your ideas of what your old possible structure might have been, basically. And again, for some of you, this is all social, but for some of you, this can also be the way you show up on social media as well. It's reshaping the way you communicate with your social life, right? And so I'm going to move forward. Okay. All right, sorry about that, Seagoat. We got cut off. But yeah, so it's you going into this space where you understand that you're going through great change. You're going through a reworking, right? A reshaping, a renewal. And it's because you need to move forward. And because you need to move forward, you have to admit that you don't necessarily know what to do, but you're ready to create something new. And you know that you need to change a lot. In order to move forward, you need to change a lot. So that's where your mind and your emotions need to be. What it is that you need to do is the High Priestess. Okay, so we've got more majors here. This is very deep. This is a shift that's happening inside of you. The High Priestess is you going into a space of, again, your intuition, trusting in what it is that you feel, going into a space that is more introspective and deeper. This is also getting more in tuned with yourself, especially because right next to that, we have who it is that you need to become as the moon. So this is your opposite. This is Cancerian energy. So there's so much water that is showing up and telling you that the new identity that you're taking on is somebody that is more in tuned, more intuitive, more felt, more understood in that way. As you reshape your social paradigm, whether it is in the people around, well, it'll be all the people around you, the way you're showing up, social media, your social networks. It's coming from a space that is deeper, more connected, more in tuned, more alive from your internal self. And that's where you've been needing to be this entire time, Seagoat. That's what makes it so that you deal with less trauma, less betrayal, less blindsidedness from people when you're truly connected. That's what you can learn from your opposing energies, your water energies. Again, Scorpion energy, Cancerian energy, Piscean energy. All of these things are happening now. This Scorpion energy is obviously here in the moon, leaving Scorpio season, but then we also have Cancer being in Jupiter, and we have Saturn being in Pisces, trying to teach you these final lessons before we step back into fire. And these lessons are about reworking your social paradigm so that you can have a better and more in tuned social experience, showing people who you really are from a deeper aspect of self, not separating yourself or splitting yourself into two so that you can cope with the natural world and completely disconnected from the fact that you have this mermaid side of you. You are in tune, you are intuitive, you are more felt than you are seen. And understand that when you are more felt than seen, then that is going to create the harmonious life that you're indeed looking for. Right. All right, so Capricorn, the thing is, at the bottom of this career deck, we've got Storm here, okay? So it lets me know that the storm has arrived, right? The storm is coming. So you guys are going through an experience, like we've been talking about, right? You're going through something, and it's just a moment in time. Let go of your worries, because again, that's at the bottom of the deck. But what comes out, we see limitations, needing to let go of your worries, understanding that you're driving yourself a bit crazy, right? You're running yourself ragged. You're driving yourself mad. And so as you put yourself in this position, it's understanding that just because you're dealing with this situation, right? Doesn't mean that it's going to destroy you. It doesn't mean it's going to eat you alive. It doesn't mean it's meant to shake your ground. What it's asking for you to do is to reshape yourself to create the outcome that you so desire most. There isn't anything that's actually out to get you right now. Right? Just because you're dealing with a bit of a storm, you're dealing with a situation that is kind of, testing you, right? Doesn't mean that it's out to get you. Let go of your worries and your stresses and your pains in that way. Again, temperance energy, right? What does it mean to be the temperance? What does it mean to be calmer? What does it mean to be more balanced, more at ease? Okay, so from here we have the Sisters of Star Blossom. It is good to remember that whilst we each take our own unique journey back into divine bliss and truth, we have plenty of friends that love us unconditionally and wish to help us find the way home with the least suffering and greatest joy. Yeah, Capricorn. When we allow ourselves to be helped, we help others too. It is a spiral of support and love that is wishing to connect more with you so now. Group energy is powerful. When used consciously, it can help us expand in a way that if you were doing any task, many hands could make light work, as the saying goes. Well, many hands make light work too. Your energy can help nourish and lift the energy of others in a group as you are able to carry high vibration of love in your heart. So the thing about this, Capricorn, especially as I'm thinking about the way in which we saw the strength show up at the bottom of the deck of our extra moments of advice, it just seems like you're going through a reworking of your social life, and you're having to know where your inability to find peace and balance are, defend yourself without losing yourself, make sense without, shifting and shaking and crashing within. Let go of your worries just because you're dealing with difficulty, or just because you're faced with having to rework yourself or defend what it is that you want to the world to see about who it is that you are. Doesn't mean it's going to unalive you, right? This is here to strengthen you, make you deeper, make you more in tune, make you more real, more honest, more authentic, more alive, more felt, right? Less of the saying the right thing when you need to say it because you think that it is the status-oriented thing to do. Just because you're a leader doesn't mean you don't feel, right? So that's what it is that I have for you, SeaGoat. I would love to know you guys' opinions in the comments, especially when it comes to understanding this I feel like I've been quite elusive, right? Quite ethereal. So let me know if you guys feel me and understand me. Okay? So I love you so very, very much, Capricorn. Ciao.